Fellow citizens, the People's Court is now in session. My name is Ifeanyi Chukwu Okonkwo. I'm your forum advocate. In the court this morning are
Chizoba Chukwudi
and Sir Abuchi Anuyago, an independent journalist and public affairs commentator.
And I am Osaoge Ogbonwa.
fellow citizens. We have a full court today, and as soon as the other participants in the court come in, you will get to know them. Fellow citizens, we are at a situation in our climb that it is getting to be noon. And when it gets to be noon in the day, you know that that is the time to take critical decisions before it gets to be midnight. Fellow citizens, in the topic, in the conversation in the People's Court this morning, is a topic that is so important in the management of affairs of your life and our nation. It begins with a situation where we need to understand how to participate in making our life meaningful and deepening our democratic experiment. Fellow citizens, in the conversation we have who are the owners and stakeholders of the political parties in Nigeria. Without the people taking control of the political parties at the grassroots, the search for good governance in the face of corruption, impunity, poverty, and lawlessness will be endless. We will continue to soul search. Fellow citizens, it is important that we understand the institutions for power. And the institution for you to improve your life is the political party. I want to remind you that during the transition of the aborted Third Republic, President Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida and his junta devised a new phenomenon of creating in the laboratory political institution for power. They created two parties, one a little to the right and the other a little to the left. They called them NRC, National Republican Convention, and SDP, Social Democratic Party. In the platform for that political experiment, they had in mind a situation where no one should own the party. That is the philosophy of the laboratory experiment. That experiment was stillborn. It failed us because it did not solve the problem. It was targeted at resolving. Fellow citizens, having due regards to the statutory mandatory provisions in our Constitution, in particular section 221, 222, and 224, one may ask the question, what are political parties? Because that is the only platform upon which you can assess governance, upon which you can print posters and hoist billboards to advertise your personality, character, and learning that you can lead a people. Without understanding the platform upon which you seek power and the instrumentality of the political machine, we, the jury, who are the electorates, will not make proper choices and ask the right questions. It is my humble submission that political parties are one of the many kinds of institutions that people can use to achieve political power. Political parties have been major institutions since the 18th century for organizing political conflict and for ordering and arranging the agenda for national political life. Political parties are power-seeking structures. People use them to achieve their goal of control over government, and sometimes, but not always, as a device for systematic carrying out of well-defined policies and programs. Citizens, we have a responsibility, and the demand for your action is urgent. Who are the people controlling these political parties? Who really own them? And how are they run? If the parties are not properly run, they will never produce good governance. In Nigeria political party, which include associations whose activities include canvassing for votes in support of candidates for election to office of president, vice president, governor, deputy governor, and or membership of the legislature, we must understand what defines their symbol, what defines their motto, and their agenda on how they can give you good leadership that we so badly need in this country. The first formal parties were found in England and United States of America, and they evolved from legislative faction and activism, which are consistent with friendly dispositions and goodwill for the betterment of the people. They wanted to work together for a systematic basis for enhancing the welfare and delivery of goods and services for the people, husbanding the treasury, and scrutinizing that those that they have put up for election are delivering on the mass, broad spectrum with which they sought office. The owners and stakeholders of the political parties in Nigeria, and in Nigeria, not the government, like we had the first experiment, because people might have a hangover. The parties are the institutions which the people need to take proper control of and get into the driving seat. But that is not the case in Nigeria. The government did not set up any political party. In other words, political parties in Nigeria are operated with a license which are subject to cancellation or withdrawal by the Independent National Electoral Commission, which is an agency of the federal government. We need to take control of that machinery. It is important that the stakeholders of political party in Nigeria ought to be members of the party at the ward level, not national executive, who paid the membership subscription fee and levies, because the point of joining a political party is at the grassroots level, at the ward, and not at any other level of the political organization. Therefore, it is a misnomer for officers of political party, those elected on the platform of a political party, or those who are the bureaucrats in the political party, to arrogate to themselves and call themselves stakeholders, whereas they are the agents of the political party. The party are owned by the membership in the ward. I want to use this opportunity to ask you, where are the structures of the party in your own ward? And was there ever any drive by anybody to recruit you to come and become a member so that you can contribute? These are the issues we need to examine properly. And from our experience, we will now see there are certain objectives upon which these political parties are set. These parties were set specifically and constitutionally to deliver on the principles of derivative principle of state policy for the enhancement of our welfare. If any party promotes any other objective other than the objective that will put bread and butter on your table, give you vision, give you a dream, and help you to achieve the betterment of your life, that is what a political party ought to be doing. We will look at a situation where how does the party now give you opportunity to participate. We must look at the structure, how the parties are run. In the wards, they ought to have an office, they ought to have an administrative structure, they ought to have a bank account. And that is where the party germinates. And there must be a structure how the office is run, who are the bureaucrats that run the office, and how are funds shared between the local government, the ward, the state, and the national. You see a situation where every day you see advertised in the newspaper that people who want to obtain nomination form for election will have to go to Abuja or pay money into the accounts of the national executive. This is why Nigeria will always continue to experience corruption, because there's no transparency, there's no accountability. The basis of transmission of this fund and the purposes and how it will be shared are part of the problem why we cannot get good governance. Fellow citizens, the people at the top are running Nigeria political party as a military unitary structure. And that is why you cannot get the people who we have elected on those platforms to become agents of change for good governance. They will sit in their respective offices outside the grassroots and fix what they call nomination form and declaration of interest. And they will tell you that you will pay 2 million naira to show interest that you want to represent your community. Or tell you that you have to pay 10 or 15 million naira if you want to be a governor, 20, 15, 6, 7, 8 million to be a senator. And you are expecting governance and good government and lack of corruption. That's a lie. Fellow citizens, it is important that I warn you about the delinquency on our part to ask the right questions so that there will be change. Without transforming the political parties, you cannot get any change. We will continue to cry for embezzlement, impunity, and corruption. Fellow citizens, a couple of days ago, the newspapers are being used as a forum to inform you in your wards that for you to participate in the primary to elect your representative, you need to go and pay 5,000 naira as a ward delegate or 10,000 naira as a national delegate. What is this payment for and how is it accounted for? In one of the parties, they have 10,000 people that will participate in the primary. If you have a rake in your house and you're raking up a total sum of 10,000 times 10,000 people, Nigeria is a bed of corruption. And this is money that is never accounted for. The parties don't have office, they don't have bank account, and the members of the party don't even know what is going on in the party. Fellow citizens, this is the case in the People's Court this morning. And I told you we have a full court. I want to use the opportunity to leverage by giving the members of the court opportunity, even though one of the participants is late in the program, so that he can announce his presence and then make his contribution on the point.
Good morning, listeners. I am Barrister Bonnie Amal. It is one of those challenges of our city life that at interval you got to have an encounter hold up on your mission to your destination. But that is not to say that lateness is part of our movement, movers. Nigeria, time is very, very famous, and we cherish it. So I hope you forgive. Now the contribution is, to begin with, I want to believe that you capture the comprehensive challenges of the parties in Nigeria today. Who owns the party? Who controls the party? How is it run? Given the concept of formation of political parties from the 18th century, England and United States, we have seen parties evolve, that all parties don't have to be national. There could be parties that is strictly limited to a local government, and all their interests will be restricted to those local governments. But here in Nigeria, they tell you parties must be national. It doesn't have to be national. Parties could only cater for the interests of my local government, their local government, and that is the basis of that political party. And in that regard, members of the people, members of the party, particularly the people at the grassroots, will be able to know what is happening. You spoke about accountability. You spoke about the high nomination, expression of interest, and all whatnot, that you have to pay that large sum of money before you could be part of primaries, not to talk of part of the election proper. It's abnormally. It cannot go with the concept of political parties if we know it as coming of together of like minds with the intention of forming a government in future, as distinguished from pressure group. People in political party had the intention of forming a government. And if that government is for the people, by the people, and for the people, that formation must belong to the people, the grassroots, the people at the communities, the people at the localities. As it is today in Nigeria, it is not so. Stakeholders cannot be Abuja politicians. Stakeholders cannot be only those who allocate themselves the resources of the party through corrupt means and other malpractices. How can you really have a sustainable democracy without a party formation that is grassroots oriented? This is the challenges facing us today. And this is why we have issues confronting Nigeria in deepening our democracy. We cannot deepen democracy when the party is taken away from the people. By taking away the party from the people who really belong to the party don't know what is happening. I must confess that in the First Republic and before the Civil War, party officials campaign in the communities asking members to join. Do we have it today? What we have today is that even if, when you want to join the party, they will exclude you. They wouldn't want you to come closer. They wouldn't want you to know what is happening. When Nwodo was, Okwesiloze Nwodo was the immediate past chairman of the ruling party, the PDP. He tried to introduce online registration. Why was he resisted? Because people would have willingly joined the party without unnecessary constraint. But the so-called party stakeholder resisted it. So party must be formed on the basis of mass movement. Party must be formed on the basis of the goals that we distribute the resources of the nation if eventually the government is formed to the welfare of the people. Can I stop here so far for others to make their introductory remarks?
That's okay. So I will now call on Sir Abuchi to make your contribution on the conversation, sir.
Thank you, the advocate of the movement. Well, good morning, our listeners, once again. The two previous speakers on this issue have, I think, hit the nail on its head. They've described what political party is all about and who are the stakeholders. And for me, I will take it from there. A political party is supposed to be an umbrella organization or body of people with the same ideology, with the same thinking, with the same political thought and philosophy, coming together to form that association and choose a name that suits them, that suits their purpose. They choose a name. Generally, they come together and brainstorm and decide on what name they will give their political platform. And that platform is aimed at forming a government if it is the wish of the people that this association called a political party, which these people have formed, that we have looked at their ideology, we have looked at their manifesto, we have looked at even the individuals comprising this organization, because that is critical. The individual person, the individual character matters in taking a decision, because they say, tell me your friends and I will tell you who you are. So if, for instance, a group of miscreants, so to say, decide to come together and form a political party, I do not think that any sane human being in the society, any right-thinking human being in the society would like to support that political group. So political party is supposed to be an association of like minds, people with the same ideology, aiming, striving to form a government. And they are forming a government for the general well-being of all, for the good of all. The lawyers will say for the common good. But in our Nigeria's setting, it is unfortunate, especially since 1999. Maybe we will come to that, because that wasn't the aim. I know that some of the political parties that emerged, or political associations that emerged in 1998 and then went into elections in 1999, they were formed by the people, because I was in the field then, and I still remember how people of different political platforms, different political associations came together to form all these political parties that we have in names today. But in the real sense of it, I will not describe them as political parties. And talking about the ownership of political party. The ownership of political party is supposed to be all, like we saw in the First Republic and in the Second Republic, and perhaps up to the time of the Babangida era, when we had SGP and the NRC. People formed political parties, and no single individual or a select group of individuals hijacked the affairs of these political parties. And that was why they were able to make impact. And that was why they were able to carry the people along. But what we have today, the owners of the political parties that we have in Nigeria today are the supermen. I always call them the supermen and women who have hijacked power, who have cornered power, and begin to appropriate it by themselves. Cornered the political parties as if it is their own private estate. The ownership of political parties is like a public limited company they call PLC, where you have shareholders, and every shareholder, even the least shareholder with just a single share, is an owner of that company,
and is consulted.
Yeah.
And is consulted, because during the AGM and some other groupings, those people, everybody is notified and invited. But that is not the case with our political parties today. What we have is a kind of exclusionist arrangement, where a group of people will organize themselves because God has given them opportunity of dipping their hand into public treasury and appropriating public treasury according to their whims and caprices, and they use the same public treasury that they have amassed, that they have looted, to decide, to dictate to the people how they will run the political parties. And what we see today is not only people being intimidated, you call yourself a member of a political party, but the supermen and women, they intimidate you. They intimidate you with their wealth and hijack the party, and then hijack and begin to behave whichever way that suits their purpose. That is why somebody may have political aspiration, and his kinsmen in his village will say, we know you as a good character, we want you to go and represent us at the the House of Assembly, for instance, and the community will come together. But at the end of the day, you see the people's aspiration, the people's thinking, the people's will being thwarted, because they don't have the kind of resources that one single man in that community has. And that single man decides who gets what and who becomes what. And that shouldn't be. Okay. So if we talk about this thing today, we will not end.
Let me call on Mr. Saha, please. Could you make your contribution?
Okay. From what the Forum Advocate has stated and the other two speakers, it has covered almost everything. I would say everything, even. But I would just like to add a little bit from what the last speaker, Sabuchi, said. He said something about like minds and the same ideology, and that's what the political party should have. And I want to relate it to the crisis in Abuja a couple of days ago, the APC supporters crisis. You know, some people on General Buhari's side and the other ones on ex-Vice President Atiku Abubakar's side. You know, and I'm thinking if it is a political party that these people, these so-called supporters, you know, have like minds, have the same ideologies, then I don't see why you should be fighting between, you know, two different personalities under the same political party. You know, so it paints the picture very, very clearly that most of the people, the so-called supporters that are under these political parties, do not even have the slightest idea what is going on in the party. You know, they don't know the left or right of what's going on in the party. They just have, you know, some kind of followership. You know, they have not been made stakeholders. They've not been made part or parcel of the political party at all. You know, and going on, it is the root of godfatherism in Nigeria. This is where it all started it starts from. You know, the richest man, the person with the most money, the person who sponsors the party, the person who sponsors the movement the most, gets to decide who, you know, get to be elected. It gets to decide what happens in the political party and what does not happen in the political party. You know, and this is the situation in Nigeria. Taking the politics from the grassroots, handling it from the grassroots, letting the common man have his own say, you know, in a political party in Nigeria, something that may never happen if things don't change. You know, it's very, very obvious. And this is the reason why, this is the main reason why, when a lot of times people complain and say, why did we elect this particular opinion, and then someone else says, well, we didn't have a choice, this is the person that we were given. You know, if we had a choice, then we would have elected somebody else. And then there's also the question, why don't we have people going into those political parties and picking up forms and say, well, I want to contest, I am from this local government area, my people know me, and this is what I have done for this local government area, I would like to go ahead and contest. But those people are not given a chance because, you know, they realize that they would not be heard. You know, they may not even be given. The PDP sold 2 forms, 24 million to 2 people, or rather collected 24 million from 2 people, and they didn't give them forms. Only 1 form was given out. So it is the basis for everything that goes wrong eventually, with the godfatherism, with the, you know, a lot of thousands of supporters. 70 people plus were seriously injured in Abuja a couple of days ago. Clueless people that do not know what they are fighting for, who they are fighting for. They don't know if they are fighting for APC or they are fighting for Atiku Abubakar or they are fighting for Buhari. But, you know, they got injured. You know, and this is the situation that we have in Nigeria. That's my piece.
Let me now call on the lady in the house. This is about the women. I don't know whether you are in the political party or tell us what you feel about the issue.
For the women in the party, if you're not part of the clue, as in you don't have a role model as in the seats. You don't have any cause being there. But I have to take it from the grassroots point. Um, Big Brother said something about those people fighting and they don't know who they are really fighting for. He said something that if the people don't take control of the parties from the grassroots, things, endless corruption, impunity, poverty, and all those will be endless. Now, the question that is really agitating my mind: the grassroots, do they really know their worth? Because the registration and everything starts from the grassroots. Those people there, do they really know what the powers they have being in that grassroots and what they are supposed to do, taking over a lot of things? Because the money they collect, and another thing that is really striking me, the money they collect, what do they really, the parties, what do they do with the money? Because the money is alarming. You still come down to the grassroots where the political parties are, nothing is happening. Their offices is very dirty and no seats there. You still come to their meetings, everybody's standing, nothing is up, the flags are all worn out, and you see things are getting worse. But they collect huge amounts of money from those registering to for vouching for an office. So I don't really understand what the grassroots people are really doing. That's what's
Fellow citizens, in the People's Court today, we are considering a very, very important issue. The issue of the structure for power with which will midwife good governance. Our search for good governance will be endless until we get interested in the structure which produces governors, chairmen, and members of the parliament. We do not believe in any continuity, as the case is in present day Nigeria. I am not doing well and I'm complaining. The people who are representing us in all the spheres of government don't even need a second chance in this country. I'm asking you to get interested. If they come to area to put posters, ask them questions. They don't even know the geographical area they want to represent. And it is important that we get interested. We are the stakeholders. We are the owners of the political party. We need fearless individuals that will come out no matter the price, so that we can unmask these evil people that have pervaded our society. On this note, this court will rise.